All right, we're back again here on the Sort of Sports podcast now on episode 31. That's right, 31. And I guess I should come out and say it. You clicked on the video, you know what happened. I hope you watched some of the finals. The Warriors are your 2022 NBA champions. I predicted Celtics in 7, and I would have lost money if I would have bet. So I guess it's a good thing I live in Ohio and we can't bet till 2023 because I would have lost on this one. I am really happy for especially Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole. I really thought they played well, and especially Wiggins. Wiggins really showed up. There's a bit of Finals MVP chatter for Wiggins, and while I knew that wasn't going to happen, it was fun to see it, right? But it did kind of suck. I was sitting there last night watching the game, and I really wanted it to go 7. I really wanted to see this series go the distance. I wanted to see a big game 7, and I thought it was weird for the Warriors to win it in Boston. But, they won, and we can talk about Curry stuff in a bit, but I just want to talk about the actual finals. So if you watch the games, and there were certain games I watched very closely, like Game 1, Game 6, and Game 5 were the 3 I think I paid the most attention to, whereas 2, 3, 4 I was kind of, no, yes, 2, 3, 4 I was a little more in and out of. I had some things going on, I was with friends, whatever. 1, 5, 6 was when I was really paying attention, and I wish I would have paid complete attention every night, but sometimes it's just not realistic. So I don't know how to describe this. So I guess we're gonna start with my negative end, which is I was watching the game last night, and I said out loud, I was like, I don't think I've ever seen a team play like Boston did in the finals, at least in Game 6. The way they played in Game 6 was not good. They had 22 turnovers, I think, by the end of the game, 22 or 24, and Tatum did not show up. It felt like the whole series. I never felt like there was a game where it was like, oh well, Tatum's got this one. I mean, in Game 6, I was literally yelling at my TV. I was like, you're paid to make the basketball go in the hoop. That's your job, Tatum. Do it. And he just dumps it off to Al Horford. I'm like, if the Celtics were going to win the NBA Finals, they needed Tatum to be, the Kobe killer that he thinks he is, right? He idolizes Kobe, and yet, he came up short. I think very short. I think Tatum massively underperformed. I got a really close friend of mine who's a Celtics fan, and he's like, I'm more of a Jaylen Brown guy. I'm not huge on Tatum. And I always made fun of him. I'm like, you're not a fan of the best player on your team, and he's the next face of your franchise. He's like, no, I don't think he's as good as everybody says. In this finals, that did hold up. I don't think that take will be good 5 years from now, but I will say, if you're going to say who's to blame for the Celtics, I think Tatum's the first on the list. He really didn't play the way I think me and many others expected him to. I don't think he really played up to the quality that I think a lot of people believed he was going to play at, and I think that really hurt the Celtics. Overall, they played bad. I mean, I don't think I've seen, it was the last game. I mean, I don't even think the Warriors barely scored 100 points. It wasn't like the Warriors were just going crazy. I mean, everybody before the game was like, oh, Game 6 Clay, Ryan, Game 6 Clay. I was like, we'll see. Klay Thompson had 12 points. He did not even have that great of a game. Curry had 36, but for Curry, that's pretty middle of the road big game. I mean, if we want to say a huge game for him, it'd be 40 or 50. So it was just weird. I was like, the Warriors played well last night, but as far as an elimination game, the Celtics they played to lose. They played so badly. It was even if the Warriors played an okay game, they were going to win. I felt like the Warriors were completely beatable last night. Clay was off. Curry was doing pretty well, but not insane, making every shot Curry. And, Wiggins hit some big shots, but he had that 3 that just was an absolute backbreaker near the end of the game. And if you're watching it, you know what I'm talking about. But I felt like the Warriors were very beatable throughout this entire series, especially last night. I was like, the Celtics should win this, and they just completely just turnovers, missed easy shots. 3 straight, not 3 straight. It was 3 different times in the last quarter that I turned to a friend of mine. I was watching a game with him. This has happened 3 times now, and it was the ball would hit the rim and just roll around and roll out. I mean, obviously the Celtics can't completely control that, but it just felt like nothing was going right for the Celtics. It was so odd. I don't think I've seen a team just play that badly in the finals. Like when the Cavs beat the Warriors, Game 7 was incredibly competitive. Both teams were at like the top of their game. Whereas here, it was just I don't know, it was just odd. It was like the Celtics were like they were already beat. I mean, the Warriors got up by like 12 with 3 minutes left, 3 or 4 minutes left, and the Celtics were just. I think it was when the Warriors were up like 15 with 3 minutes left. The Celtics were just like, yeah, it's game, and they just started jogging up and down the court, and I was like, not even, not even gonna try. Like we're just done. And I think maybe it's because you're a young team. They don't have a lot of. I don't think anyone on the Celtics has won a title already. I don't think a single guy on that roster is an NBA champion. But it was just weird. I don't know. It was so odd. The Celtics really disappointed, I thought. And that's not just me saying that because I took them to win in 7. Like, you know, at least in Game 6, like they could have had a really good competitive game. I wholeheartedly believe last year's finals was a stronger finals than this because, the last game Giannis had a 50 piece, felt like a big deal. You had in that series you had the Chris Paul like foul on Giannis. It was just there was a lot of like I think moments and competitiveness. And, these last couple games of this series, it was just like the Celtics were just falling apart more and more every game. And then Game 6 was the very clear, complete fall apart. Like the Celtics just flat out fell apart. They played badly. And that's no disrespect to the Warriors. I mean, they deserve to be the NBA champions. I'm just saying it was really weird how like the Celtics basically rolled over and died. It was so odd. I don't understand what went on in that locker room where they were all just decided like, yeah, we're done. Like it was odd. And you really can't do that against a team like the Warriors where you're going to have to fight against Clay and Curry going off. You're going to have to fight against Draymond always playing crazy hard. Like you're going to have to fight through all that. Draymond talking to the refs, Draymond talking trash. Like you're going to have to fight through all that stuff. And the Celtics, I don't think we're ready for that. And I think it's really the biggest reason they lost. And Tatum, to me, he's got to show up. And he didn't. And then everybody's like, oh, well, they'll be back. They'll be back. I was looking through like the Celtics Bleacher Report community, and I was sitting there and I was like, really? I mean, you're probably right, but like, if you look at the East, the Bucks are a contender every year they have Giannis. And for the time being, it looks like he's going to be there maybe his whole career. And, the Sixers, I think, if they can make the Harden and Embiid thing semi-work just one more year, just at least one more year, they're a contender. The Heat are going to do their Heat thing where they randomly just go out and snatch somebody this offseason. You're like, whoa, the Heat got Bradley Beal or the Heat got Donovan Mitchell. Like, the Heat are going to make a big move because they always do. Pat Riley likes to do that. The Cavs are up and coming, and I think they're going to be studs. We all know how I feel about the Detroit Pistons. If you follow me on Twitter, you know. I think it's at Sort of Sports Pod. Capital S on Sort and Sports, and then capital P on Pod. I think that's what it is. Regardless, the Pistons I do think are going to win in 2024. Like I think there's a lot of up and coming stuff in the East, and it's going to be hard for the Celtics to get there again. I think there's a very good chance that the two teams in the finals next year are two teams that weren't even in the last three. Because 2020 was Celtics. 2020 was Celtics. 2020 was Heat, Lakers. 2021 Suns Bucks, 2022 Celtics Warriors, 2023 I don't think any of those 6 teams is back in there potentially. I don't know if I put money on it and be like, yeah, because I think the Bucks are an obvious choice to go back and the Warriors are an obvious choice to go back. Both teams aren't really losing anything big and could probably add something in the offseason. But I'm saying if you told me that we had 4 years where there were 8 different teams in the finals, I'd completely believe you that could happen right now. The league is very competitive, and that's how we're getting some really good, and I thought it was really good playoffs, but I did think the finals disappointed a bit because the Celtics didn't put up at the level of fight I thought they would. They didn't. The last game was kind of a downer for me. I was like, wow, they really just decided they were done. It was so odd. And I think the Tatum thing is the big part of it for me. I was like, Jalen had an incredible series. Jaylen Brown played amazingly. And Tatum never had that game where I was like, wow, Jason, you are everything and then some. I was like, no, Tatum didn't feel like the guy who could be the best player in a championship team, and that's what lost the Celtics the finals. Curry is that guy. Tatum right now is not. Can he be potentially? Yeah. I think it'd be a pretty safe bet to say He could be eventually, but right now he's not, and that's just the truth. I do think it's also interesting. So I was listening to Bill Simmons' podcast, and he was, he's a big Boston guy, and he said it was right after Game 5 when the Celtics lost. He's like, I think it's weird because I think these are the two best teams that weren't supposed to make the finals. He's like, I think these are the two supposed to be the conference finals losers, and I got what he meant here. And let's see if my 5 listeners understand what I'm saying here. So, and that's not to diminish, the power of my 5 listeners. I appreciate each and every one of you, but I was just saying. So, he was basically pointing out, he's like, I think if the Bucks have Chris, they probably beat the Celtics because they can go to 7 without Chris. They beat us, then they beat the Heat, and they go to the finals. He's like, I feel like fate was like the Suns were supposed to be in the finals, but they ran into Luka, and the Mavericks just picked them apart, and we all knew the Warriors would beat the Mavericks, which happened, and so the Warriors got there. It's like the Warriors dodged the Suns, and that was supposed to be like a really competitive 7-game series, and the Celtics dodged the Bucks repeating. And basically what he's saying is he's like, weird things happened to mess up the natural flow. It's like I've talked before about there's an ebb and flow to a sports team. I always use the Chicago Bulls as the example. They were incredible in the 90s with MJ. So then they have a down period in the 2000s where they're not as good. Then they start to go back up because they get Derrick Rose. But then an injury messes up the natural flow. So then the entire 2010s, they're just floundering around in weird space where they're not ever bad enough to get good, but they're not ever good enough to win anything. So I think, there was a weird occurrences that kind of messed it up, and it's the Chris Middleton injury, and it's just the odd Suns fall apart of the year. The Sun, you want to talk about a team that just fell apart. Suns easily take the cake. The Celtics fall apart was nowhere near as bad as that, because the Celtics, it's not like the team's going to fundamentally fall apart like the Suns are. The Suns might trade DeAndre Ayton, hopefully to the Pistons. Come on, 2024 NBA champion Pistons. But, yeah, I do think that's interesting. Were we supposed to get a Bucks-Warriors or a Bucks-Suns finals? And where the Warriors that the Bucks were supposed to play have to go through the Suns in 7. So they're even more, tough and tightly knit and have, even more fine-tuned for when they play Milwaukee. And then we get this incredible Bucks-Warriors series. Maybe. But granted, that's not what happened, right? It's just me throwing stuff out. The big picture is the Warriors won. Steph Curry finally got his finals MVP. And so I'm just saying, I want to toss that out there. I think it's an interesting idea, and maybe that's why the finals felt weird, because I did think it was a weird feeling finals. I was watching it, and I'm like, these are technically the two best teams, but I was like, I don't know. I'm like, do I honestly believe if Chris Middleton's healthy that the Bucks still lose the Celtics? No. And that partially is me being biased towards the Bucks. But I'm just being honest. And of course, you can't change that. We can always go back and be like, well, 1998, if so and so. Yeah, we could do that all day. I just think it's interesting to think about. But the reality is, it's not what happened. There are some teams in NBA history that got a weird thing happened and they took advantage of it, and history forgot that weird thing, and now they just live on in Jimmy High Roller videos. He'll bring them up randomly. That's really what we're living in. So let's move on to the Warriors and their big win, because it was a congratulations to the Warriors, because I think this is definitely the most impactful championship they've ever won. And also, I will say, the hats for the Warriors, I do not like. I do not like that white. You can see it right here on the image. I'm using the Andrew Wiggins. So the thumbnail will be Curry, because it should be Curry. He's the best player on the team. Second best player in the league. We'll talk about where he ranks all time here in a moment. And so it should be Curry for the thumbnail. But for the video, I want this picture, because I love how it's Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins, because those are the two players I really like on the Warriors team. I really like Jordan Poole because a buddy of mine's a big fan of his, and all season we've been like, Jordan Poole, best player on the Warriors, as a joke. And my original joke at the beginning of the season, I think you guys remember, when I was really into Andrew Wiggins because he was going off and he got an all-star, and I was really happy for him. So I'm really happy to see Andrew Wiggins do well, because if you go back to 2015, people were expecting him to be a 4-5-time NBA champion, best player in the league. They were calling him Maple Jordan. He was the next freaking LeBron. And obviously he's not that. But then the fact that he dunked on somebody in the NBA Finals and was the second best player on a championship team. He hasn't lived up obviously anywhere near to the hype that was around him. But the fact that he's he is changing the narrative around his career, and he is an NBA champion. He was the second best player in a championship team, and yes, I said that he was better than Clay this series. Wiggins was their second best player. He was awesome. So, I mean, it's obviously very debatable. I just think Wiggins stepped up and was the second best player in the series. But yeah, the hats for me don't work. I don't like that white with the red and the blue. I think there's too much going on. I know why they did red and blue is because it's the 75th anniversary of the NBA, and that's what they're doing, 75th season. They want to put in the NBA colors. But it just looks weird. I would not wear one of those hats if I was a Warriors person, but the shirts are sweet. I will say, like, I love the Bucks hat they had last year. It was so clean with the gray and the black, and it was big letters, said NBA champions, and the Bucks logo was front and center, and I loved those hats. The shirts were pretty cool, but my only thing with them is that they're white, and I don't love white clothing. And I think, as a championship shirt, you'd want to wear that shirt a lot. So when it's white, I don't end up wearing as much as I would because it's white. Whereas these Warrior shirts are sweet because the black goes really well with the blue and yellow. It really makes the blue and yellow pop, and those shirts are sweet. But yeah, I'm obviously not going to buy either of those. I'm just saying if you were, I would really recommend not getting the hat. The hat is not that cool. Whereas last year the Bucks, the hat was like a 10 and the shirt was like a 7 or 8. This year it's like the hat is like a 6 or 5 and the shirt's like a 10. So yeah, so let's talk about the Warriors. I mean, how did they get here? They're expertly coached. They are officially, I'd say, you can say they're a dynasty now. 4 titles in 8 years. And the fact that they literally have changed their team dynamic 3 times is really interesting to me. Like you have the original run and gun 73-9 Curry, Clay, Dre team. Then you have the everyone hates us, we're ruining the league, KD, Curry, Clay, randomly DeMarcus Cousins at the end, 3-year period where they win 2 titles. And then Kawhi Leonard becomes like everyone's favorite player for a month because he was an incredible playoff run. And then you have the we're rebuilding and slowly getting better, and our fans are saying that we're going to win the finals, and everyone's kind of annoyed by that in 2020, 2021, and 2022. Because I remember seeing people that are like, 2022 NBA champions, it's going to be the Warriors. And I was like, F you. Screw you. You're just saying that because you're a Warriors stan. Run is over. And I mean, I was wrong. Like, they really did know what they were doing when they went out and they got some of these guys, like drafting Jordan Poole in 2019. They came back from Clay being injured and Curry getting injured. Like last year, they didn't even make playoffs. And 2 years ago, they had the number 2 pick in the draft in James Wiseman. And they blew that pick. Wiseman has yet to prove his value there. Like, they would have been better off going with LaMelo. And yet they still are NBA champions. In this picture, you can literally see James Wiseman is an NBA champion. And he has done nothing of note as the number 2 pick in that draft. Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, Tyrese Halliburton. Oh, I'm thinking, like the only guy drafted before him was Anthony Edwards. In that entire draft, the entire 2020 NBA draft, the only guy drafted before James Wiseman was Anthony Edwards. And I would say, I'm curious now, I just got to run through this draft and think about like how many different guys the Warriors could have gotten that would have been a better fit. LaMelo Ball would have been a better fit. Patrick Williams was a great defender for them. Isaac Okoro, I love him. You know that. I think Killian Hayes would be interesting there. Onyeka Okongwu, defender. Obi Toppin would be a solid bench player. Denny Avdija, he would be fun off the bench. Devin Vassell, Tyrese Halliburton, Aaron Naismith. Definitely Isaiah Stewart, my gosh. Poku, I think they could work with him. My boy, my absolute boy, Sadiq Bey. He would have been perfect. Precious Achua. He would have been great. Tyrese Maxey. Obvious pick here. Emmanuel Quickley would have been better. Peyton Pritchard is better. Desmond Bane. I mean, like all these guys who I think some of those guys could have been like, starters. Other those guys would have been role players. Like Aaron Naismith is just going to be a bench guy. But still, it's better than James Wiseman. And yet still, oh my gosh, the Jazz just revealed new uniforms. I'm going to have to add this to the episode. Okay, sorry about that. And yet still, they win the NBA Finals. Like, even though they've had some big blunders, they still win the NBA Finals. So that's just crazy when you think about it like that. And, yeah. So, let's talk about the thing. Also, Otto Porter Jr. was actually a stud for this team, no lie. He was actually pretty good. So let's talk about the big thing. And that is Steph Curry won his Finals MVP. He's a four-time NBA champion, holds the career three-point record, has the only unanimous MVP. He's won two MVPs. He's got a ton of first-team All-NBAs, some seconds. I think he's probably on a third. I think he was like a third in like 2014. He's got a bunch of All-NBA teams, so it's pretty clear that he's either the second or first when you're ranking point guards all time. I would honestly give him the first spot. I think it's official. He's the greatest point guard of all time. Because greatness is like talent mixed with accomplishment, right? Like Aaron Rodgers might be the most talented quarterback ever, but he's not the greatest because he doesn't have the accomplishments to back it up. Brady has a ton of accomplishments and a ton of talent. So those together make him the GOAT. So I think, Magic has obviously a ton of accomplishments. He's a five-time NBA champion. But, all right, I'll do it. I will pull up Magic Johnson, and I'll pull up Steph Curry. We'll look at their basketball references just real quick. Well, not the stats. I don't want to look at the stats. I just want to look up their accomplishments just to make sure I'm not messing anything up. Yeah, so we've got Magic, obviously a Hall of Famer. He was a three-time MVP, three-time Finals MVP, five-time NBA champ, two-time Steals champ. I think that's an underrated stat about him. He was a 10-time All-NBAer. He also led the league in assists 4 times. So when you go over to Curry's accomplishments, oh no, I don't want ESPN. Heck no, give me a basketball reference. Okay. 2-time scoring champ, 4-time NBA champ. He was, the first ever Western Conference Finals MVP, which was named after Magic Johnson. Didn't even think about that. 1-time Finals MVP, 2-time MVP, 8-time All-NBA. Probably by the time he retires, he'll probably get at least one more, maybe 2 more. And then he was the Steals champ 1 year. So I think overall, Magic is probably a little more spread out as talent-wise. You know what I mean? But when you think about Curry I think that's a really interesting debate because they're both were the best players on teams that won a lot of finals, right? But I do think, there's an argument that some years, and he won the Finals MVP unanimously. Even after all that little bit of chatter about Andrew Wiggins winning it, he won the Finals MVP unanimously. So props to him because that's the first ever unanimous MVP for both because there's only ever been one unanimous MVP, and that's him. So you know what I'm saying here. So what I think's interesting is that you've got a guy who has technically less accomplishments than Curry, but I think his accomplishments hit a little more home, right? You got an unanimous MVP. You've got a team that had to kind of rebuild and come back. I think those are interesting. Magic has a more steady career. He's got 5 finals. They're all pretty steady against competitive matches. I think the one that really sticks out, honestly, to me is his 1980 one when he's a rookie and they win it. I think that one's actually really underratedly interesting because he won a Finals MVP as a rookie because he had to take Kareem's place because Kareem got hurt. So I think that's an underrated one. And I think I think it's interesting because I think there's an argument that sometimes Kareem was the best player on the court with Magic, whereas Curry has always been the best player on his team. But there's also, no, I guess there's an argument that KD was better than him in 2017 and 2018. So I think it's interesting because they both went through that where they had another star with them. But I don't know. I got to think on this one. I think if I had to say it right now in the moment, because I just watched him win it and he completely changed the way basketball is being played, I'm going to go with Steph. But if you said it was Magic, I completely understand. But Curry can literally do, any shot on the court. And he's the greatest shooter of all time. And I think adding that with the unanimous MVP and the 73-9 season and the 4 finals, whereas Magic has 1 more finals, but yet he's not the greatest shooter of all time. And he doesn't have the record for 3 points made, which will probably never be broken. I shouldn't say that, but I do think that I don't know if Curry's record will ever be broken for that. I'm gonna have to go with Curry because I'm gonna make a play here that I think that we're gonna start seeing the debate that Curry is on LeBron's level. That I said, I think I've talked about this before on here, that if the Warriors win the finals this year, you're going to start seeing Curry versus LeBron debates. And I think it's legit. I mean, Curry is more culturally significant with the 2010s, like my generation, like people who grew up, who are like, like in their teenage years in the 2010s, because he was big right when we were really getting into basketball. Whereas people that were born in like the late 90s, early 2000s, not early 2000s, like late 90s, people that were born in like the late 90s, like 96, 97, 98, were teenage years when LeBron was dominating. So, like, essentially, like, millennials are bigger with LeBron, and like Gen Z would be more big with Curry. Now, granted, that is a huge scope to say, right? Because I hate it when people are like, oh, well, Gen Z this, millennials this. I think that's a dumb debate, and yet I'm still doing it because I don't mean to do this. I shouldn't have said it's a weird way to phrase it, but I'm saying because obviously there's outliers, right? There could be freaking thousands of people. There probably are thousands of people in both generations that prefer different players, and maybe millions that obviously feel different. So it's hard to say that overall this group of hundreds of millions of people feel this way. But I am saying, culture-wise, when I think about, kids in high school right now, Curry is more resonant with them overall than LeBron is. Curry is the most popular player in the league, and I think LeBron, I think they figured out as two. It's like I think it's interesting though Curry's cultural significance because you go to like a youth basketball game now, every kid wants to shoot threes, and that's because of Curry. No one yells out LeBron's name when they shoot a jumper. Everybody's yelling Curry, and I think that's interesting. His legacy will age like wine because he has a magical persona with him. Curry has this you've it's like when people talk about seeing like Wilt Chamberlain live, where it's like he was larger than life. Curry has that like magical thing about him. And I think LeBron has kind of lost that luster, like with the Lakers and them not doing well this year and the injuries and all that. Like he doesn't feel as superhuman as he used to, and I think it's hurt him. Whereas Curry always feels like some like superhero. Like he carries himself like a superhero, and he's got this like magical thing to him. This comes from a guy that doesn't even really like Steph Curry that much, but I respect him because he's a very special player, and I think his legacy will age probably better than LeBron's just because he was loyal. That adds like the magic of him. Like he has this persona and accomplishments that feel like mythical. And I don't think LeBron has that like really mythic feel to him anymore. He feels a lot more human now. Now, granted, we could see Curry's career maybe change, and he would not feel that way anymore. But I think he's always going to have that. And I think the fact that they have the same amount of rings is so interesting to me. It's really interesting. Because while Curry's 2 championships with KD mean less than LeBron's with Wade and Bosh, like significantly less. Do not compare those two teams. Let me get the Warriors one is definitely, way less impactful than his titles with the Heat. I mean, like Dwayne Wade was not far and away the second best player in the league or anything. Do not let people like change that narrative. They do have 2 rings that are significantly less important than the other 2. Curry's, most important one is easily this one. Easily. LeBron's is easily 2016. They've got 2 that are weird, which is they both have one that is weird, sorry. LeBron's the 2021, which is weird because it's like the bubble finals, and then Curry's 2015 one is weird because like the Cavs injuries, the Kyrie and Kevin Love and all that. And then, they both have 2 super team wins. And while Curry's super team wins are a lot less impressive than LeBron's super team wins, LeBron's super team was not as crazily stacked, they're not completely uncomparable. LeBron's 2016 finals is much more impressive than Curry's 2022 finals, but they're not completely uncomparable. And I think that's where the debate's going to start coming in. It's going to be, well, if you line it up. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to really argue. I do think LeBron is the greater player, but if Curry, wins another championship and another finals MVP, then what do we do, right? 2-time finals MVP, 5-time NBA champion, only unanimous MVP. Like, it starts to get crazy. So, I don't know if the Warriors will ever win another one. I don't know if Curry will ever win another one. But the point of it is, his career right now, I think he is the greatest point guard of all time. I think it'll take something pretty drastic to change my mind. Like I think Magic is amazing. Don't get me wrong. I just think Curry is the stuff he's done in such a short period of time is really impressive. I mean, you think 2015 to 2022, in 8 years he won half the rings, and and Magic's Lakers had that level of dominance. But you look at what Curry's gone through. I don't know. I think it's tough to compare him versus Magic. They're so different player wise. But I'm gonna say Curry's the greatest point guard of all time, and I'm gonna say that if we start putting him in like the top 8 players of all time, I'm not gonna argue with that. If he's up there with like LeBron, Bird, Magic, Jordan, Kobe, I think he deserves to be up there in that air. Bill Russell, those guys. I think Curry deserves to be up there. And so I think this really solidified him being one of the greatest players of all time. And if somebody says, I think the greatest player of all time is Steph Curry, now it's a little less dumb, right? There's always some guys that are going to have some crazy takes. But I mean, if somebody says they think the greatest player of all time is Larry Bird, I don't agree, but like I can see how they could build an argument like that. I think Curry's officially has that resume where my opinion is MJ, but if you want to say that Curry is the greatest player of all time, you can make an argument. Like honestly, you could make a legitimate argument. I probably won't agree with you, but like I can actually see where you're coming from. Instead of you saying like James Harden, there's really no argument that James Harden is the greatest player of all time. You're just saying that because you like him best. Whereas with Curry, there's a legitimate argument now, and that's nuts. And so props to him. And I don't think he's ready to be put in like the same holy trinity as LeBron, Kobe, and MJ as like the three greatest player of all time. But ask him when he retires. He might eventually get up there. He has really been impressive, and I do think there's an interesting thing. I read an article about a year or two ago, and it was like Curry is the Jordan of this era because it was talking about like how he's loyal to the same team and how he like gave them the Warriors had only had three NBA, I think, yeah, three NBA titles before him, and like they were a pretty good franchise overall, and now they're like easily the third most successful franchise in the NBA. Like really no team comes close. And this dominant run, not dominant, but yeah, kind of dominant. I mean, 4 titles in 8 years is really freaking impressive. And it was basically saying like he is more like the MJ, where he is more popular than LeBron, and he, is a little more out of the blue, and he's loyal to the team, and he's got that like I'm saying, that mythic quality. And I think that's really interesting. I don't really know if I have a point here with what I'm saying. I just think it's interesting that his persona really helps build on his like accolades, which I know is a weird thing to say, but it's the truth. So yeah, props to Curry and the whole team. I don't really want them to go back to back. I'm gonna be perfectly freaking honest with you. I would really like to see the Cavs and the Bucks win the finals, or just something completely new, right? But this was fun. I was actually really glad this happened the way it happened. I think it was fun. They genuinely deserved it. I'm not saying like, well, it's a asterisk on the finals because Chris Middleton got hurt. No, injuries are injuries. Those are going to happen. You have to play through those. You can't, play the blame game all the time, or else we'd be going back to freaking 75 years ago and be like, well, if Baltimore doesn't do this, then the Bullets win. No, we're not doing that. So at the end of the day, it's congrats to the Warriors. I definitely think they were a great team, and really props to Curry because, like, wow, like what a run. Also, Klay Thompson saying "Holy cannoli," that was so goofy. Also, I will say, I did watch Top Gun Maverick. Completely loved it. It's gonna really put up a fight against. What can I speak? Oh wait, didn't I mention this last episode that I watched it and it was gonna put up a fight? Yeah, I did mention that. Okay. It's going to put up a fight against Batman and, like, the best movies of the year. But I also decided I'm going to make a list. I made a list of movies I've just watched this year. And then, I'll rank, essentially, like, the best movies I watched all year, whether they came out this year or not. So, like, for example, like, I've watched Terminator 1 for the first time, Terminator 2 for the first time. Like, there's some movies that I watched this year for the first time that I would like to just be like, essentially 2022, and film, my awards will include every movie I watched in 2022 for the first time. And maybe in the future I'll say, no, it's not just for the first time, it's every movie I watched, but that's kind of dumb because then it'd just be like Beverly Hills Cop would be in there every year, right? So if I watched, for this year, I watched Matrix for the first time in January. So that'll be eligible for the 2022 awards. But that'll be a separate list than the 2022 films, if that makes sense. I don't know why I'm explaining this. We have like 6 months left in the year. I'm going to see Jurassic World tonight. I'm expecting it to be pretty average, but that's just the update on me and my movies. So that's what's going on with me. I'm going on a Quentin Tarantino run. I'm 2 out of the 9 in. He's quickly becoming like my favorite director of all time. Like officially my 3 favorite directors ever are Nolan, Spielberg, and Tarantino. And if I keep loving the Tarantino movies the way I have with the first 2, which were Django and Pulp Fiction, he might just be like flat out my favorite director ever. So that's the update on me. Also, just congrats to the Warriors. I got to say it again. It was a really great run, and I just don't really want to see him win it again. Like anytime soon. And that's nothing against Andrew Wiggins or Steph. Like I really respect them. I love Andrew Wiggins actually a lot. He's a really great dude. But I do want to see. I guess I shouldn't say I want to see something new, because if we get a freaking Warriors-Bucks finals next year, I would be there front and center. And I said from the beginning I would not be upset if the Warriors won, and I'm really not that upset. So you know what? No. I just can't wait for next season. I think we had a great NBA season. I think we're in for another great season next year. And I'm really excited. We're only 2 years away. Well, one more season, and then the Pistons win the finals. So that's really exciting. The 2024 finals. So, then I'll know who I'm going to pick in 2024. Easy. All right, let's look at these Jazz uniforms. Oh no. Oh, why? Oh no. Who did this? Who did this? Oh no. I'm watching a little video. Oh, they showed Jordan Clarkson in the video. Are they going to show Donovan Mitchell? Are they not going to show Donovan Mitchell? Is he officially traded? Oh, they just keep showing Clarkson. Oh, yep, they're not showing Donovan Mitchell. Guys, are you gonna trade? Are you trading? Okay, they might be trading Donovan Mitchell. Holy crap! They just showed Clarkson in their jersey video. That's weird. All right, so they brought back the retro Jazz uniform, which is gorgeous. Like literally, like one of the best jerseys in NBA history. The Mountain, it's beautiful. That's great. Every other one of these is bad. This black one, I do not like. That looks like an AAU team. They all look like AAU team jerseys. These are bad. Oh my gosh. I've never been huge, I've never been a big fan of I've never been huge. Yes, that's true. I've never been huge. I've never been big on the Jazz's uniforms, but these are just bad. These look like a 2K freaking, expansion team that you would download that's named, the Brooklyn, Roughhousers, and it's like this, and they play on, a street ball court. I don't know. I'm just saying, these are not good. These are bad. These look like... I thought it was a joke when I saw this article, and then I saw it was on NBA.com. Yeah, the retro one's amazing. Every other one of these is awful. Let's hope they only wear the retros. These are bad. Holy crap. They might have the worst jerseys in the NBA other than this retro one. Those are terrible. Maybe they'll grow on me when they wear them in-game, but those are actually terrible. I hate those. Wow. Those are AAU uniforms. Those are bad. Okay. Well, then, that was fun. All right, so congrats to the Warriors. Also, my mock draft, I'll probably do... Obviously, I have to do it within the next week, so I'll do it pretty soon. I didn't want to do it in the same episode as the finals. Also, I do want to say I was going to record remember I said I was going to record one during the finals. I had thoughts halfway through. Well, I was going to do that after Game 6 because I was like, when they go to Game 7, I can hype it up, and then I'll do one right after Game 7 ends with whoever wins. And then the Warriors won in Game 6, so I was like, ooh, whoopsie. So that's why we only got a prediction and then a post game, because there was no in between, because I didn't expect the Warriors to win. So props to the Warriors for proving me wrong. All right, now I'm going to fill out my ballot for the 2022 MLB All-Star Game. I can't remember where it is all of a sudden, and I feel really dumb. I got to look this up now. It's going to bother me. MLB All-Star Game 2022. Where is it? It's somewhere with palm trees. Where's it going to be? Dodger Stadium? Oh, no. Not again. It was just there 2 years ago, wasn't it? 2021, I remember, was at the Rockies. Wait a minute. I think the All-Star Game 2020 was supposed to be... Yeah, that's what it is. The 2021 was supposed to be Dodgers. I remember that now. Because when you played MLB The Show, it was there. That's why I thought that. I apologize. I hate the Dodgers, though, so they don't deserve anything nice. Put in the Angel Stadium, dang it. Also, I love those Angels City Connects. I don't know if they're done with all the City Connect uniforms. Usually I know. I really haven't actually looked into that. If they're done with all the City Connects, when I do my NBA mock draft or just like a random episode, I'm going to do a ranking of the City Connect MLB uniforms. It's been a good MLB season so far, but we got to get out of the NBA draft and finals for me to get really focused into my MLB. But let's vote for right now I'm going to vote legit. Like, this isn't just me voting my favorite guys in. I'm going to try to vote pretty legit. I sorted by OPS because I think that's the best stat that they can have you sort by, because they have average, home runs, RBIs, and then A to Z. And so I think OPS is probably going to be my most useful one. So, obviously you can vote 5 times a day on MLB.com. So I can do my one where I just put in every player on the Tampa Bay Rays. I'll do that one later. But am I really even like a Cubs fan? I don't know. Because they say I'm a Cubs fan, and I love, I love Suzuki. He's great. But, like, if we're all being real with ourselves, like, I love Seiya Suzuki, but, like, if we're being real, MLB I'm the way least loyal. Like, NBA, it's very clear. I love the Cavs. I love the Bucks mostly because of Giannis, and then I do just have a real soft spot for the Pistons. NFL, it's very clearly Panthers, but, like, MLB, I'm borderline just a player guy, and I love baseball, so I just like watch any team. And there's always a team there's a couple teams I really like the way they do things, like the Rays. But yeah, let's just keep saying it's Cubs, Padres, but in reality, like, come on, guys, we all know the reality. I have a freaking hat collection. I'm wearing a Rays hat right now. I love his Rays hat. It's like the Devil Ray hat. I got to order that new Angels hat, though. That's pretty. All right, here we go. We're going to start out with first base. So for the National League, realistically, it's kind of got to be Paul Goldschmidt. He's batting .347, 16 home runs, 56 RBIs, with a 1.070 OPS, whereas Pete Alonso is the only other one I even give a thought to. He's got a 905 OPS, 18 home runs, 59 RBIs, but he's got a 280 average. Paul Goldschmidt is batting borderline .350 with only 2 less home runs and 3 less RBIs than Pete Alonso, and he's got a much better OPS. So we're giving it to Paul Goldschmidt. He's our National League first baseman. Moving over to the American League, it is much tighter. I mean, there's Anthony Rizzo, Jose Abreu, Ji-Man Choi, Vladimir Guerrero, Luis, I can't remember how I'm going to say this. I'm not going to try it. It's the Twins first baseman. I can't remember how to say it. And Ty France. They all have between an 800 and an 880 OPS. Anthony Rizzo has the worst batting average out of these guys, even though I love Anthony Rizzo. But he's got far and away the most RBIs of 43. But that's because the Yankees have been the best team in baseball, even though I did not see that coming. They've been hitting the absolute tar out of the ball. We really going to get that Mets-Yankees World Series? I mean, we'll talk about that more in depth once we take because after the next episode, we're just full MLB until the NFL season starts. And then even then, I'm still, like, covering MLB till the World Series. So, like, we get into full MLB, it's almost like, it's like 5 months of just straight MLB. But regardless, I'm starting to believe that we're getting a Subway Series. Crap, my White Sox are disappointed. All right. Looking here, though, I could go Vladdy. I really could. But I think this Luis guy might be my pick. I genuinely cannot remember his name because he plays for the Twins. And I'm going to be honest, guys, I love watching baseball. I never watch the Twins. Never. So I'm going to give it to him, though. Sorry, guys, I can't remember his name. Like how to say it. National League, I'm putting Jazz Chisholm. I love Jazz Chisholm, and you can't argue with me. He's got 13 home runs. No one else here has more than 10 out of the second baseman. He's got an 836 OPS, which is the highest. He's got a 246 average, which is nowhere near the highest. But I'm putting him in because I love him. And that's the end of it. I'm borderline a Marlins fan. We all know this. It's my dirty secret. So I'm putting him in because I want to. And if we're being legit, I should probably do Jeff McNeil or Ketel Marte. But I'm doing Jazz Chisholm because it's not a terrible pick. It's just not probably the best one. But I'm doing it. And I know I said earlier that I wasn't going to just put my favorites in. But no one can. I mean, who's going to stop me? All right, you're not going to jump. You're not going to come find me and beat me up because I put in Jazz Chisholm. Because in your heart, you want to see him on there too. Because you like Jazz Chisholm Jr. too. I know you do. Everyone kind of has a soft spot for the Marlins. And if you don't, you're a monster. You know that? You know that? I don't know why I'm guilt tripping you. I appreciate you. So there you go. There's my pep talk for you. But you should appreciate the Marlins and Jazz Chisholms. I'm putting them in. All right, American League, another one. This is like they're all kind of stacked together. Like I could realistically do Jose Altuve, Jimenez for the Guardians, Espinal for the Blue Jays, Gleyber Torres, Jorge Polanco. Like those are all pretty good options. I should probably do Altuve. He's all around got the best numbers. But I'm going to go Santiago Espinal. I think that's how you say it for the Blue Jays. He's got 292 average, 5 home runs, 31 RBIs, 787 OPS, just all around solid. Third base, Jose Ramirez. Just put that in. I mean, he's been crazy. I love Rafael Devers. Love him so much. But Jose Ramirez has been awesome. So he's got to be there. And Manny Machado. That's the end of that because Manny Machado has also been awesome. They're both batting over 300. They both have 10-plus home runs. Jose Ramirez has 62 RBIs. It's crazy. Manny Machado has 43 RBIs. They both have over a 900 OPS with Jose Ramirez being a 1.048 OPS. So I'm just flat out saying, boys, like, oh my gosh, he's been crazy. Crazy. Also, I want to make sure this is clear. So the Guardians, if my MLB standings would load in. The Guardians right now have played 59 games, and Jose Ramirez has 62 RBIs. Just want to make sure we all realize that. He's a freaking stud. So, Jose Ramirez, crazy. So, Jose Ramirez and Manny Machado, my two third basemen, because right now they're both like MVP candidates. They've been studs. Shortstop. This is my favorite position. We all know this, and a lot of my favorite players play here. So, here we go. I would love to put Willie Adames, but it shouldn't be him. So, that's the reality. Really, for the NL, it's Trey Turner or Dansby Swanson. They both have over an 800 OPS. Dansby has 37 RBIs. Trey Turner has 47. They both have hit less than 10 home runs, but they're shortstops, and sometimes shortstops aren't big power guys, which is understandable. Dansby Swanson's batting 295. Trey Turner's batting 298. Average, the only guy higher than them is Jose Iglesias. So if we're just looking at the stats, should be one of these two guys. I would love to make it Frankie Lindor. He's got 45 RBIs. Good for him. 723 OPS. 242 average. He's kind of middle of the road. And he's been good. But I think it probably should be Dansby, especially because the Braves are on a big run. So give it to Dansby. He'll be my shortstop for the NL. For the AL, oh my gosh. I want to do Xander Bogaerts. Like I have to, right? He's got the second highest OPS. In the AL, he's got the highest batting average at 332. He's got 31 RBIs, too, and 6 home runs. Oh, what a stud. I got to put him in. I mean, I love Tim Anderson, though. This is why it's terrible. This is terrible. I got to choose between him and Tim Anderson, two of my favorite players in the entire league. And then my boy Wander Franco's down here, too, and Ahmed Rosario's here, too. All of my boys are here. And Bo Bichette. And Javi Baez, who I have a soft spot for, but not as much as the other guys. Bo Bichette, Wander Franco, Ahmed Rosario, Carlos Correa, Xander Bogaerts, and Tim Anderson. I love all those guys. Carlos Correa the least, but like Wander Franco, I would literally buy a jersey of him. Bo Bichette, I would buy a jersey of. Bogaerts, Anderson, and Ahmed Rosario, I would buy jerseys of all of these guys. But I'm going to do Bogaerts. He's having the best year. Right? Okay, maybe Tim Anderson, it should be him, but I'm doing Bogaerts just because I need to prove to the Red Sox I need to keep him there. Because if they get rid of him, I'm going to be upset. Because he deserves to be in Boston. That's where he wants to be. He deserves to make his own decisions. For the NL, it's got to be Wilson Contreras for the Cubs. He's a stud. He's the best catcher, like, in the NL. So that's that, right? I'm just doing him for the NL catcher. Sorry, run catcher. I'm not announcing these as well as I should be. For the AL catcher, the Yankees guy is not too bad. There's really three obvious choices here. It's Kirk for the Blue Jays, Murphy for the Mariners, and Trevino for the Yanks. I'm going to go Kirk for the Blue Jays. 318 average, 863 OPS. He's been doing well. Outfield. All right. Well, this makes it very easy. For the AL, Aaron Judge, Mike Trout. There we go. We have our first two picks for the AL. And then for the NL, we'll make this really easy. Actually, no. Let's finish AL, then we'll go Then the other AL pick. Taylor Ward has been a stud. I just want everybody to pay attention to this. 324 average, 1.034 OPS, and he plays for the Angels. This guy coming out of nowhere, stud. It might have to be him, and the Angels have two guys in the outfield. I would love to give it to Byron Buxton. I love Byron Buxton, but I'm giving it to Taylor Ward. What a stud. All right. NL's tougher. I think Jock Peterson should get a look here. He doesn't have the highest average at 269, but he's got an 896 OPS. He's got 33 RBIs, 13 home runs. Not terrible. I mean, he's been solid. And he's just, I mean, Jock, it's hard to hate Jock. When I was younger, I hated him. Then he came to the Cubs, and I was like, wait a minute, this guy's kind of cool. And then he won the World Series of the Braves, and I was like, okay, this guy's definitely cool. So I'm giving it to Jock. Why not? Mookie Betts has an argument that he's like the best player in baseball. We should give it to Mookie Betts. And then Ronald Acuna Jr. also has an argument to be the best player in baseball. We're going to give it to Ronald Acuna Jr. But, oh, man, this is tough. I'm really going to not start Ian Happ or Juan Soto. I'm a horrible person. All right, that's my outfield. I'll keep him out, even though I probably should. Designated hitter. I don't care if the AL one should be JD Martinez. I'm doing Yordan Alvarez, and you can't stop me. Who's going to stop me? No one, because you can't go back in time and change the recording. I'm giving it to him. That's the end of it. For the NL, it should be William. And also, Yordan Alvarez is having a heck of a season. He's got the highest OPS out of any of the DH options. He's got a 312 average, which is the second best out of any of the DH, only beat by JD Martinez, 351, which has been crazy. But he's got the most home runs in the DH category for the AL, and he's got the most RBIs. He's a stud, and I love him. He's like the only guy in the Astros I'm a big fan of, and he's a freaking stud, so I'm giving it to him. For DH, I should probably give it to William Contreras from the Braves, but I'm going to give it to Bryce Harper. Actually, no. I think I should give it to Bryce Harper. 46 RBIs, 15 home runs, 322 average, and a 1.002 OPS, which is only 0.015 lower than Contreras, and he has a much higher batting average. That's what I'm doing. So, yeah. I don't think we vote on pitchers yet. I think that's when we have to do the final vote, right? I don't think I vote on pitchers yet. So, yeah, let's review my picks. Here we go. So my team, the official Sort of Sports Podcast MLB All-Star team, where I was a little biased, but I tried to be relatively close to accuracy. Here we go. First baseman, Luis Arraez. From the Twins. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry, I hardly ever get to watch Twins games. For the NL, Paul Gold. Oh, wait. Let's just run it like this. I'll read through the AL, see all the positions. For the AL, first base, Luis Arraez. Second base, Santiago Espinal, which I hope I'm pronouncing too, because I haven't watched the Blue Jays games either. Just the Blue Jays aren't on national television as much as I thought they'd be. Third base, Jose Ramirez. Shortstop, Xander Bogaerts. Outfield, Aaron Judge, Mike Trout, Taylor Ward. Catcher, Alejandro Kirk from the Blue Jays. And DH, Yordan Alvarez. Pretty happy with that team. NL, first base, Paul Goldschmidt. Second base, Jazz Chisholm Jr. Third base, Manny Machado. Shortstop, Dansby Swanson. Outfield, Jock Peterson. Mookie Betts, Ronald Acuna Jr. Catcher, Wilson Contreras. And DH, Bryce Harper. I'm pretty happy with this. And if I can just toss out there who my pitchers are. For the NL, it's Sandy Alcantara. I don't care if it should be Joe Musgrove. I'm starting Alcantara. I love Alcantara. For the AL, I don't really have a preference. I just wanted to say Alcantara. I mean, probably Justin Verlander, right? He's a stud. He's aged like wine. He's awesome. So I give it to him. Not even a big, when I was younger, I was kind of a big Verlander guy. I'm not really anymore, but, he's really freaking good. So, yeah. Not a lot has really changed in the MLB. The Yankees are still studs, and the Mets are still studs. I mean, those are the two best teams in the league, and they're both in New York. So if you live in New York, just go to both games. I mean, you're going to see some darn good baseball. So, yeah. All right, that should be it for today. I'll be back with my mock draft, and then I'll probably talk more about the MLB because I think we're having a really good season. And real quick, Aaron Judge, where's he going to go? I'm probably going to talk about that. Actually, I don't know if I'll talk about that. I just think it's interesting. He's having this incredible season. He's probably going to be AL MVP, and we don't even know if we know almost for sure that he's not going to be a Yankee next season, and that's freaking weird, right? Isn't that weird? I think it's really crazy. So I'm really excited to see where he goes. I hope it's the Marlins. I'm praying to the Lord it's the Marlins. That would be awesome. Please, please be the Marlins. But you know, we'll see. I wish the Marlins had better jerseys and hats. Their stuff is so bad. Man. Or like the Rays. Why am I like a Florida baseball stan? I don't even mean for it to happen. But they both have just such darn fun teams. Come on. He's not going to go to the Rays. He would never. But the Marlins, possibility. Is there anything else? Oh, yeah, Shohei. If he doesn't re-sign with the Angels, I'm going to flip out. Come on. It's so much fun having you and Trout on the same team. But, like, I don't know. The Angels scare me because they really need to, like, make the playoffs this year. If not, Shohei's gone. Right? Right? Yeah, I think so. And that's weird. So it'd be weird to see him somewhere else. And I'd love for him and Trout to, like, be together and be, like, this ultimate, like, duo that won one or two World Series. Because let's be real, the Angels, I don't think, can get to more than that. But I would love for the Angels to put together a good team and have these guys together. Because it'd be sad if we're like, wow, we really had two of the greatest baseball players of all time on the same team and they never won a World Series. Like, that'll be sad. I'm talking really fast all of a sudden. I got to slow down. But yeah, I think it just come up. I get upset about that because like I want to see them win together, but I also understand it might be better for Shohei's career for him to leave, and that hurts, right? Congrats to the Warriors, especially you, Andrew Wiggins. See ya.